Welcome to all of our clever agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, April 14th, 2022, and this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 373, and it's our first video podcast. So now y'all get to find out what we look like. Hopefully you're not terribly disappointed. We've got a great call for you. We got several guests on this call. Tim, you want to go ahead and introduce the guests, or do you want to start with some initial comments, please?
I'm good. First off, I want to thank everybody for being here. As Jim said, we're experimenting a little bit. Not only did we decide to go to a Zoom call, but we're also live streaming it on Facebook and where else, Alyssa, you're on. Tell me where else we're streaming.
It is live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook's having a couple of technical difficulties right now, but it should be operational shortly. And we are live on YouTube as well.
Very cool. So you're, while it's our 300 and something call, you're on our inaugural attempt at leapfrogging into big technology to be able to do this appropriately and be able to look at each other and see a few of you as well. And so it's important to us. More importantly, the live streaming is important, and it's also going to streamline our process in terms of getting these calls recorded and online and moving forward. So we're excited about that. And what a much better way to do this than, or never a better way to do it than to introduce you in person to our friends at Probate Cash. We've been working with them off and on for many months now, and so we're kicking it into high gear with this call. We tried to do this last week, but we had interesting background noise, and we'll just leave it at that. It was interesting background noise. We're not really sure exactly what was going on, but we couldn't, the normal interface to conferencingcall.com didn't work because we couldn't get it to turn on to mute anybody, so it was a scream fest. So somebody was prospecting for sales while we were on it, and a couple of other people were doing other things. So this time we've got it all together and we're doing it right. So we're excited to have you here and joining us. We are joined, as I said, by our friends at Probate Cash, and I'll introduce them now. Mark is the CEO of the company. Is that correct, Mark?
That's correct.
I got it right. And Karen Iturino is, Karen, you are your title?
VP of Business Development.
Okay. And Sean Driscoll is the long-suffering person who's had to deal with me through all of this. And I applaud his tenacity for getting us to this point. We're an interesting group to work with sometimes, and we always try to make sure we have everything working properly before we get rolling. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We've been working really hard with these great people, and we actually went back to them in the middle of our cycle time and asked to change the rates that we worked on and all that sort of stuff. And they've been generous with us and with you. So we're excited about that. We think this will work well, and we know that they are very good at what they do. And with that, I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit about what your criteria are, and I'll ask you some questions as we go. But more importantly, a little bit about how this works, why it's different than a loan. I know that we're careful to talk about it as an advance and the reasons why and all of that. So with that, I'm going to flip it back to you guys. Mark?
All right. Well, thanks, Tim. It's great to be on the inaugural video. So Karen, who introduced herself as Vice President of Business Development, that she is, but she's much more. She is incredibly, has a great working knowledge of the probate process as well, and is really one of the primary people responsible for setting up our infrastructure, knowing the probate laws. So she's incredibly important to this company, not just for those relationships, but I am an attorney, and I've been in the factoring business for a very long time, most of my career, in fact, buying different kinds of receivables. Probate seemed like a natural area, these probate buying advances against inheritance. And that's basically what we do. If somebody has an inheritance coming their way, that inheritance is often tied up in the probate courts. Most people don't know the probate process. They don't realize how long the probate process takes and the different obstacles in probate, the challenges that can occur, the claims that occur. and those people need money. They can't wait for their inheritance. That's where we come in. We provide advances against that inheritance, and we wait. They can be prepaid anytime, but usually we wait until the estate assets are distributed, and then we get paid. We see that realtors really benefit from directing potential customers and existing customers to our business, especially the folks on your call, Tim, who have a really good working knowledge also in the probate process. People who are coming to sell an estate home may need money to fix up that home, make sure it's current in taxes, many different reasons, and they can't wait also for their inheritance. And that can help your group landing a customer, getting a listing by explaining to that person that, if you sign with me, I can get you cash right away. And that cash can be used for any reason. We think we've seen many realtors do that, and that's a core of our business. That's why we like working with y'all. And we also, to that end, pay referral fees to the realtors as well. And we know it takes a lot of time and on your end, and we believe that time should be rewarded. I'm going to pass it to Karen a little bit for criteria, but we definitely encourage phone calls. I'm very accessible, emails, very accessible. And we also understand that not every situation fits the exactly what we do. We're a company that has flexibility. We have, and by flexibility, that means money for different types of advances. So Karen, I'll pass it on to you, and I did not forget about the distinction advances versus loans. But go ahead, Karen.
So our criteria is pretty basic. Most estates are property rich in cash poor, but essentially what we are looking for is estates that have value. So there's risk because claims can be made against an estate, or, houses burned down. We actually had that happen recently. But essentially, we just need an estate that has value and then an heir. It's about that simple.
That estate value could be basically the house or liquidity. Not a lot of our customers have estates with much liquidity, so we're here to basically advance against assets that will be sold, like the house, against the inheritance. I see Ryan's hand is up, even though I'm probably not the MC guy. But
yeah, let me just stop you for 1 second and make a quick point there. If you have a question, do raise your hand. We did see that, and that's fine. The other thing is, if you're on either of the other places that they could be watching this live, can you tell them how to ask us a question?
Yes. So if you are watching our live stream on YouTube, you can actually submit your question directly into the live stream chat there. We have moderators checking those out. And then if you are in Zoom, the best option would be to quickly summarize your question in the chat box so that our moderators can select people to call on when we get to the Q&A period.
So we got a lot of different ways to ask questions, and if you have them, please do that and let us know, and we'll be happy to get them to the right people, both in this portion of the meeting and certainly in the later portion as well. Go ahead, guys.
There's a question. I can take that right now from Amber. How does probate cash profit from the advances? So we charge a fee. So I hadn't gotten into the loan versus our advance, which is a fee. We're not worried about the credit of an individual beneficiary heir to an estate. What we're concerned about are the estate assets, what our customer is entitled to pursuant to an inheritance, to a will, or if there's an intestate situation. And then we provide an advance, and we will provide that advance early in the process. Sometimes we even provide that advance before a probate case is filed if we're talking to the estate attorney. Certainly before the creditor's claims has been completed. So if you all know about the probate process, that's a pretty risky time to come in. our fees are going to reflect the risk of our advance. So if we're early on and don't really see a picture, we'll give an advance. Fees are going to be higher. If we have cooperation from an estate counsel and we have a better understanding, or if the advance is farther down the road, then our fees are less. And to that end, they're non-recourse. So if we're wrong in our due diligence, absent fraud, so let's say that the heir does not receive any money or enough money to pay us back, we do not receive the money back. We do not pursue the claim. It's non-recourse, and they have no obligation to pay us back.
So you're securing it, but explain how that works. If you're secured and they have the money, you do have the ability to go get the money that you've been promised, right?
So we do not have a security interest. We you could use the word secure very, very loosely. What we do is we will file our, not a claim, but we will file the heir's assignment of her interest, a portion of the inheritance. We file that with the probate court, so the personal representative knows when the assets are going to be distributed that they have an obligation to make payment to us from that person's inheritance. That's our claim, that's our security, clearly not anything that you would see in traditional lending.
Got it.
What happens in the event that the either counsel or the personal representative, someone causes a delay? Because we've seen that periodically where counsel may drag their feet for a year and a half without communicating with the family a whole lot. At least that's what the families say. You guys just wait? Do you change anything?
Karen, I don't want to take all this up because your voice is much easier on the ears than mine. Go ahead.
That's not uncommon in probate. What a lot of people don't understand is there are certain steps. Probate's a very tedious legal process. And so there will be long periods of time where clients may think an attorney's dragging their feet, but they're really just going through what's called a claims period. And that could vary state to state from 3 months to 8 months. And there's nothing to be done other than to wait. We keep tabs on all the estates to make sure they are flowing and to make sure that things are progressing as they should. And then we will reach out to attorneys just to verify that things are staying on track if it's past a period where we know that there really wouldn't be a whole lot of filings or action.
Yeah, we anticipate that our advances could be outstanding for over a year. Of course, it depends when we enter into the transaction. So often people come to us at the very beginning of the probate process because they really need money. They certainly need money. Then others come to us as the probate process is farther down the road, but far from over, because now they're realizing that, wow, this probate process is going to take some time. And forget about COVID, other pandemics, which is backlog courts for many months, if not over a year. The probate process by nature is slow moving. Again, claims period, creditors have to get paid, file claims properly, have to give notice to all the creditors and potential beneficiaries. And sometimes our transactions have to survive actual objections. And so we do, and that doesn't scare us away. We will still actively advance money into litigation.
Okay, perfect. So we have a question, and I have asked a clarifying question back, but the question is, what if an heir has a tax lien? And I'm going to assume that may be a tax lien attached to the estate. But what do you do in a case like that? How do you dig it up? And does that disqualify the estate from the advance?
So there are two things. The decedent themselves may have a tax lien, and that would actually hit the estate. Or the beneficiary or the heir may have their own tax lien, in which case only their share could be garnished. So it doesn't scare us away. We do review it. Just because you have a tax lien doesn't disqualify you.
Okay. All right, William, if that was from William, if that answered your question, we're good. If not, you can ask any clarifying questions that you need, and I'll read those out loud.
Yeah. That's the only one you had there, Bruce?
That's the only one I have at this point. Ryan had his hand up a little bit ago. Ryan, do you have a question, or have we covered what you had in the beginning?
I actually just threw it in the chat. I saw maybe somewhere that there was a referral fee for people who bring inheritors to Probate Cash. Is that a thing? Can you maybe talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we have a referral fee program. Of course, we encourage realtors to not just call us when they have somebody who really needs our services and they're trying to get a listing. We encourage you to go after folks that you think are going to need it. And you have your own network, and that's what all the leads is all about, is taking advantage of networks. So we pay our referral fees at the same time that we pay the heir. So how quickly do we pay an heir? We pay the heir, we try to pay within 24 to 48 hours after they complete the application. Our advances are risky, but we're not crazy. We do conduct a judgment and lien search against both the decedent and the heir that we're doing business with. So we want to have some kind of picture that we can obtain. And if the probate attorney will talk to us, all the better, and give us a little bit more clearance. We look at the file. We have they're complex transactions that we've gotten good at. And so we have a group of underwriters who, as soon as we see the case, they pull the case out of the public courts to go to the probate courts, and we review the documents. And so we are taking a very quick yet thorough review, and then we'll make our determination.
And I think the important thing to realize here is that one of the things that this does an extremely good job of is it gets you to the point where if you're including information about the cash advance in your marketing letters, you make it a part of all of your conversations, it's going to become part of the conversation you have with that personal representative or the heirs, because all of a sudden you've got something new to offer them. You have the ability to offer them money that nobody else is looking to offer them. This is a unique approach. Nobody's offering them money, and typically people don't lend money on assets that they can't, tie up 6 ways from Sunday. So they have looked at this from an actuarial standpoint, realized there's good opportunity to do this, and it works out well for them. But more importantly, it works out great for you, because that initial conversation, you've got a conversation starter that you haven't had before. So it's really, really important that you embrace this program as something to make sure you touch on in every conversation. When you get someone and you're in that initial discussion, find out what their cash needs are, find out if they're doing okay, find out if they need a little extra. And it doesn't always have to be a great big amount of money. Sometimes just a little bit to tide somebody over, a few $1,000s here or there makes a huge difference in somebody's life at a point where that kind of money could, make a huge impact on something that they need quickly with no real thought about how to get it. So if you get someone who needs this, you're pretty well locking them up for either getting the listing or buying the house or doing whatever you need to go do. And it's a great way to solidify it. So that's the reason it was highly appealing to us. In addition to that, if you bring enough people to the altar, so to speak, you're not going to pay anything for your marketing or your leads or anything else, because the financial feedback or payback you get on this is high. You're going to make money doing this by referring them to Probate Cash. And if you do this with enough of your people, not only are you not going to make money, but we have people now who are looking at this and saying, this may be a great way just to make money. I'm just going to become a feeder for Probate Cash and hit everybody hard with this and see who can get the money, and it'll work out well for them. So there are a lot of opportunities within the opportunity here, not the least of which is it gets you to what you're looking for sooner rather than later, because you're able to offer them money.
Yep. So there are a couple of other questions I'd like to clarify because Mark has mentioned a few times now that this is a great program for realtors. I don't know what our exact ratios are at the moment, but I would say that 30% of our subscribers are investors without a license. Tim can correct me on that if I'm off. But this is also a really good program for you if you are an investor. So if you're an investor on here, you don't have a real estate license, you don't actively sell real estate, and you guys correct me if I'm misspeaking here, don't tune out because this still works for you guys as well. And I want to leave it open to, I'm open to correction, but it's my understanding that it's good for anyone that works in the probate space and probably a few other spaces as well.
It does. If you're in the probate space, we can help. So our core business is somebody who is receiving an inheritance, right? So and that's and I saw for this state, I'm seeing a lot of questions pop up as we're talking, and so if you're an investor in property, call us. I know some investors have called us to say, hey, we need an advance so we can purchase the property. We do have companies that we work with, not hands off. They're related companies that do that. So yeah, we have our own network. We're owned by a large company, parent company, that has many affiliates that do exactly that. And we do the probate side, but we work with many of our sister companies for all purposes related to the probate process.
Perfect. Sue, you have your hand raised. Leo, I'll read your question out here in just a minute. Sue, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have two questions actually. One is this exclusively to probate? What if someone goes through a trust and inherits a property and maybe wants to sell it? I don't know if that's a good question or not, but I'm just curious.
That's a great question. Karen, I'm going to hand that one over to you.
So yes, we will work with a trust. Trusts take a little more underwriting. A lot of them are written by attorneys and they have what's called spendthrift language. So we need to review it to make sure there's nothing prohibitive within the trust itself. But we have worked with trusts. It does run a little differently. The trustees and the attorneys generally have to be on board to ensure that at the time of distribution we'll get paid, as there's no court follow through process, there's no supervision. But yeah, we have absolutely done plenty of trust deals. That's a great question.
Okay, great. And I know you kind of touched on it, but what are there's some sort of a fee for an advance, right? Or I'm just trying to understand how that plays in. Like if somebody says, well, what's the catch? I wouldn't know what to say.
Well, I wouldn't consider it so much a catch. And I have seen people saying, what are the fees on the advance? And what about referral fees, which are incredibly important, obviously, to everybody. So the fees that we charge us reflect the risk. Our fees could be as low as 10%. And from there, very high. And how we price these out are based on every 90 to 180 day period. And so it could be, for instance, over a 90-day period, 10 to 15% of the advance amount would be the fee. As it goes to 6 months, it'll appreciate up to 20 to 30%. It could go up to, and we do cap them though, however, after 1 year. And so going back to the person who asked what happens if these are delayed and it goes on for over a year, how does that affect the advance or the fee? It doesn't. It gets capped out at that point. So this is definitely non-traditional money. So for people who have the ability to go and get an equity line with their bank, they should do that. That's that's not what we do. And then that situation, somebody will take a security interest against the home, and if it's not paid back, then it goes through the courts, and there's security interest, and the house could have to be sold to go to a bank. What we have is, if it doesn't work out with the advances we provide, in other words, the heir can't pay us back, then there's no recourse for us. We move on. So those are the different natures of the business.
So other than trusts, are there any other vehicles that you're able to make advances around? In other words, structural things. For example, I guess what I'm touching on is if I'm a realtor and I'm just looking at anybody who's trying to list with me, and I potentially, look at the house that they're looking to list and realize that, if they would spend $6,000 or $7,000 on some curb appeal, that would probably net them 20 grand, at the closing table. Is that something that I can talk about an advance for that would be collected at closing, or is it going to be strictly exclusive to these kinds of transactions?
So in that situation, yeah, we can talk about that. So it's not our core, but we have folks who do that, and they will then take, where there may be a security interest, and that may be more traditional because it's secured by the actual real estate.
Sure. The issue is, I think you guys are going to probably be a little bit more, is it fair to say you're a little bit more lenient in your granting of credit?
Yeah, again, most of the people that do business with us have abysmal credit. Well, you know what? We don't even really check the credit because it's not as of interest to us. But the snapshot of the person, it would be my guess that most people don't have the best credit who need our services. Again, that's where non-traditional advances come in. There are not other avenues to go to, and we are filling that space. And we're filling that space without taking security interest. We're filling that space by just simply filing an assignment by the heir with the probate court. So it is open. The probate court does see what we're doing. Everything is incredibly transparent as far as the assignment from the beneficiary to us.
Okay, great. Hey, Bruce, do you want to go down some more of these questions, bud?
Yeah, let me go to Leo really quickly. So we answered sort of part one of his question, but so his entire question was, is the advance a flat rate or a percentage? I think we kind of have an understanding that it's more built on a flat rate versus a percentage, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. And the second part of that was, if it's a percentage, how do they deal with usury laws?
Sure. So just the advance rates, the percentage of the advance amount I told you would probably be usury in a lending situation. How is this not usury? Because we are not lenders. What we're doing is we're taking an interest in the inheritance. If that inheritance isn't paid for any reason to the heir, then we're not going to get paid back. And we have no recourse to get paid back. We don't have a security interest to get paid back. We don't have a contract that allows us to file the lawsuit to get back. So even if the person had assets that were separate and apart from the inheritance, we are not pursuing those assets.
Excellent. All right. Let's see what other questions we have. Let's go to Larry while I read a few of these other questions. Larry, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I think the question was answered, but just to clarify, you can potentially do this on non-estate properties as well. So I oftentimes, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, because I oftentimes, Philadelphia has old housing stock here, and there's older people that want to sell. They don't have the resources to get the house cleaned up. They don't have the resources to even get the house cleaned out or get ready for sale. Sometimes they have other bills bearing down on them. And I've actually lent money personally in a couple of cases, but you guys might be another resource, it sounds like, in that world too.
And that is different than the earlier conversation of our rates. So that would be a situation, bro, like when you lend money, do you take a do you have any security interest you're taking with those loans? Or are you just doing it on a handshake?
It's a promissory note, you know, and they can't cancel the listing contract until the money's paid back. Okay.
So that's, yeah. So we have sister companies, not our core business, but that is definitely, that situation is certainly worth exploring with us.
Okay.
And Mark, you mentioned sister companies. Tell them just a little bit about kind of what the background of the company is and kind of what your roots are, that sort of stuff. It'd probably be helpful for them to know that because they didn't just start this in their garage last week.
Yeah, so our parent company is called 777 Partners. So they're based out of Miami. They own insurance companies. They own a couple of airlines, actually, one in Canada, one in Australia. They for sports enthusiasts, they own a League A Italian professional soccer team. League A meaning the highest, so those are some of the more fun assets. But then companies like ours, not as exciting to the average person, but certainly one that is relevant for this group. And other companies, one company actually will provide more traditional financing, but take a deed, take a security interest against the house.
And we've been having some great conversations about alternative means of funding that, and I'm not going to get into them now, but I think over the next several months, you're probably going to see some additional offerings that may come out of this group that can additionally help you do what you're doing and provide you with some additional cash along the way as well. And they're just great people to work with. They're aggressively providing money to a group that typically doesn't have another way to get to it. And I think, you know, Mark made the most critical point, which is that most of the customers that they're dealing with are people without stellar credit. Most of those people haven't had a good conversation with anybody that talked about giving them money in a long time. And, you know, as I said, when you start that phone call, if you realize that on the other end of that call may be somebody who's in that situation who not as given up, but somebody who thinks, well, you know, we're going to have to wait till however long the takes to settle before I'm able to get some money out of this. And you may be able to change, you know, pretty much everything in their lives very quickly by having the right conversation with them. And I think if you missed this earlier, one of the things that Mark said was that 24 to 48 hours after receiving an app, they try to fund. Well, not only is that good for them, but it's good for you. It means that 24 to 48 hours after they receive an app from your potential customer, not only is your customer potentially going to get money, but you are as well. So, you know, that's an insane quick turnaround.
That is. And Tim, also, I know I saw a question pop up about the referral fees. Our referral fees, it could be 5 to 10% of the advance amount that we provide. And I also encourage you to call us as well. I mean, there's again, the interesting part about our business is rarely do we see one deal the same as the next. And so the amount of risk in some of these transactions is really significant, which is reflective of our fees. But not every deal has the same risk. And so our referral fees similarly will reflect the risk in the transaction. Now, one other part is that with referral fees, sometimes somebody does a transaction with us, we pay them, they call us back a few months later to do another transaction. And the size of our advances we'll give as low as $3,000, but we'll give as high as a $500,000 advance that's against an inheritance. So, but if one of the clients that you refer to us calls us back and basically circumvents you, we've noted our file so that you'll be entitled to a referral fee on any subsequent business that person does.
They're just a great partner, guys. That's what it comes down to. They know how to work well for you. They know what you're in it for. And every time we've ever asked them a question about it, usually the answer is always something that would be most favorable to you and to the way that you do your business. So, I mean, I think that's a great aspect of this program, that they do understand our business. They are aggressively pursuing it, and every time they get the opportunity to do something good and make it better for us, they do that. So that's an unusual relationship, a good one.
We hope so. If we do have to say no, we often have the right, can point in the right direction.
Well, that's great. Somebody asked, and Bruce, I'll answer this one, about somebody said, can we get a draft email to sent to the prospects who prefer to communicate by email, and said just enough about it to entice them, not to say too much. Yeah, we can do that. We sure can. We can give you that. We've already done an insert into most of our prospecting letters. We've inserted a blurb about probate cash in that to entice them to do that. And we're actually going to come out with a couple of leading letters that literally lead with money, rather than talk about the opportunity or anything else. Just talk about the fact that, you know, I'm contacting you because I'm an agent or I'm an investor, and not only am I that, but I'm coming with money in my hand to help you out quickly. And that's a quick interest gatherer. So yeah, we'll do that for you. And Liz, if you'll make a note of that, we'll add it to our email cycling that we're doing. We're getting an increasing amount of requests from everybody in regard to putting together an email program that will give you the ways to contact people via email. You know, you're going to need to start thinking about how to deal with the Canned Spam Act and some of those other things that go with that. And we'll do that with you, and we'll save that for another time, but we'll definitely be able to get you that.
Tim, you introduced Sean Driscoll from our team in marketing, and he's excellent at helping generate business. So for your folks that have their own websites, we can and want to, in a sense, partner or help put a link to us or to market, that you're able to provide money up front to, or potentially be able to provide money up front to the folks that you're marketing to for listings. You should let us know, and Sean's excellent at spearheading that area. Perfect,
we'll do that. And Sean, let's make a point of getting together on that either tomorrow or Monday, and we'll get some of that stuff out as well.
Next is Winston had a few questions, and I think that we got most of those covered, but I do want to clarify, just in case anyone was kind of missing this, you guys will advance on estates that do not have real estate that's in the estate. Is that correct?
So
yes. You want me to go? So as long as an estate has assets, we can advance if they have enough. Most estates are property rich and cash poor. So that's generally where a lot of it comes from. But if they have liquid assets or other type of assets, as long as the estate has a positive value, we can do an advance.
And we work with appraisers too. So if you have somebody that you're working with and they believe they have a whole bunch of really cool art and other family heirlooms that they deem have a value, we can send some appraisers their way and just confirm that really was the masterpiece they thought it was.
Just if I could just add to that real quick, that is another element that makes this such an extraordinary opportunity, because we occasionally will have our subscribers tell us, well, the real estate was already sold by the time I contacted them, or they already had a contract on the real estate, or there was no real estate, in the estate. This is an opportunity, whether you're a realtor or an investor, to generate income, regardless of whether you get the listing or you get the deal. And I mean, that really makes it an extremely good opportunity that I don't think, and to build a relationship, a bond with the seller to get future referrals. So I just wanted to add to that. Good opportunity, good stuff.
Larry, your hand is still up. Is that just because we didn't lower it, or do you have another question? You're on mute, by the way.
I think he's staying that way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, I had a follow-up question. Could you repeat what you said about minimums, minimum advances?
Sure. The minimum advance that we will pay to an heir is $3,000. If it's so again, though, you know, I say minimum. That's our preference. If there's special issues, you know, again, give us a call. One thing, I've been in business for a long time, and I am a firm believer in relationships. I know that not every deal works exactly as we all hope it does, but there are often reasons to do something out of the box that we wouldn't normally do. So I wouldn't not contact us because you think it doesn't work. Okay, I'm not afraid to say no, we can't do it, and then talk and have good suggestions, and then we'll figure out what we have in common. Almost every business I've been in has a new line has started from just a random conversation and a topic, and you know, I think that we will find common ground. So, you know, I encourage you to contact us.
Sure. And are there fees aside from, you know, just processing application fees?
We actually don't charge any fees. The fee on the advance itself is the only fee we charge, which is also a fantastic question.
Yeah.
Charge any kind of operations fees, notary fees, admin filing fees.
Nothing, none of that.
Right.
Great. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'd love to, if you guys from all the leads can share their contact info, that would be great.
Yeah, we actually, I can send even a brochure that is something that's sent directly to our consumers, not so much referral sources, but it's something that you can send over to, it's targeted more towards consumers. So, you know, in your network, you talk about, you know, the probate lawyers, non-probate lawyers. I mentioned appraisers. You know, appraisers come into the house and then say, you know what, the only thing you really have is this house that's for the estate. All the cool stuff that you thought was in there, that's just not worth any money. And but you know, instead of disappointment, the house is still worth money, and that's something we can advance against.
Right. And I think it's also important to know how do you get to these guys. And one of the things that we have provided for you in your CRM, in your user portal, is a link to do that in the drop down. And Alyssa, if you can quickly look that up. I'm not in front of that to look at it right now, but tell them the link that shows up on the menu to pull this information down. If you fill the form out, they get it and they know that you're coming from all the leads. And I can tell you that we have negotiated with them, and we're providing, and you're receiving a better value by doing that than anybody else has, because we're certainly trying to impress them with the volume that we can bring to the game, and they've committed to us to offer additional financial incentives to you guys for doing that. So use the form on our site to go do that, and that's the best way to get the information there. Regardless of how you get there, make sure that you tell them that you came from all the leads, because number one, you'll be assured of getting the maximum amount of referral paid back to you, but more importantly, you're able to offer more at a better rate for your customers as well. So those are all important things. Alyssa, were you able to look at and tell me how to get there?
Yep, I'm going to post the link in the Zoom chat as well as the stream chats as well.
Perfect. That'd be great. Thank you so much. And somebody asked about, can we review what their underwriters won't approve? I'm not sure, Winston, what you're asking there specifically. You mean if they won't approve it, you want to look at it yourself?
No, what I mean, Tim, is that I've got a pretty good feel for what they will do. I always like to know what they really don't want to do, so I don't say the wrong thing to the wrong people there when I'm calling. So any input on that would be appreciated.
You know, so what I never like to really go out and say what we absolutely won't do, because we'd really need to see it. In short, what we won't do is if somebody needs money and they're not they don't have an inheritance coming their way. They're just not the beneficiary. They don't have a challenge towards it. They're just someone on the street. That's probably not our customer. There do need to be assets behind anybody receiving an advance, whether it's coming, usually coming through an inheritance or as a beneficiary of a trust.
Yeah, let me ask the question maybe a little bit better in a different way. When you focus on real estate primarily, are we limited to just residential, or are you open to commercial, different types of property, or are you just open across the board?
Karen's jumping across the screen. Go ahead, Karen.
It's one of my favorite questions. It's actually across the board. So one of our biggest transactions was with a co-op in New York. So there was 12 families. They bought a building, created a co-op. Slowly they died off. Nobody ever fixed the deeds, changed the co-ops, inherited it. And now we're 2 generations displaced from the original owners, and they wanted to come to us into transaction. Well, a co-op is not as easy as, a straight single family home, but we still did it. So we are very good at finding solutions. If there's one to be found, we're pretty much going to find it. And we've also invested in a hotel in California. Well, we didn't invest, but we did transaction with an estate that had a hotel in California. So we're not limited in that regard. If the property has value, we can find a way, generally speaking.
Okay, and you would include land in that spectrum?
Land is a little more difficult, but yeah, we've done land deals as well.
Yeah, the difficult part is just is value, right? Yeah, but yes.
All right, thanks, guys.
I did just see a question come across about whether the personal representative has to be. That's a great question, and I should have addressed that. One really good part about our business is our transaction is with the customer. So whether and sometimes the customer can be the personal representative, our customer receiving the advance. But if we provide the advance to, let's say there's an estate with 3 siblings who are beneficiaries, one of whom is the personal representative. The non-personal representative wants an advance. We provide that advance. We do not need authorization, permission, or even to talk with the personal representative. That is where our filing, our beneficiary's assignment. So let's say the beneficiary is assigning $25,000 of her inheritance to us. That the beneficiary actually signs a form that just says assignment and assignment of inheritance, and that form is filed with the probate court. And so when the assets are to be distributed, the personal representative, who has a fiduciary duty to everybody, then will have to pay us. It's not up to the personal representative whether she wants to pay us, doesn't want to pay us. The fact of the matter is she has to pay us. Now, courts at the end of the day do have the discretion to get involved, but in our experience, that's not been an issue. The courts do see these assignments, and it's never been a problem at all. And for you folks who got a referral fee, by the way, you already have your referral fee. Just like non-recourse to the beneficiary, if for some reason we don't get paid, which I say for some reason it happens, unfortunately, more than I'd like to admit with all these people here, but we do not come back to you for your referral fee. So that's also the same. And so if you bring us a second and third or fourth deal, we don't say, oh, remember that first deal where we didn't get paid back? We're gonna just kind of hold on to your money for that. That's ours. We do not do that. That's
Mark, I know realtors love to take advantage sometimes of commission advance services. So this is kind of an advance with no recourse. You get paid. You don't have to pay it back.
A commission advance, that's not their money.
Exactly. Yep.
That's the best kind of advance. Other people's money.
Okay. Any other questions that we need to get to on this? This is obviously a very good topic, and we're through most of our hour for the day. Anybody else have anything in particular?
There are a lot of people, and I've seen this question a couple of times with some folks asking what kind of income is possible for them. I know we started it once lower flat fee. Do you have any examples of people that have made significant money with you guys recently?
Significance always in the eye of the beholder, but but it can be a regular source of income. You know, is it enough to quit your job? It can be. There is no reason why not, and there are no strings attached with the referral fees. You know, other things that we're also open for. I think I talked to you guys about websites, or you want to start websites and use us. You know, if other perks that we would do for you guys as members of all the leads is, you know, if there is becoming to be a good stream of referral business, we can also talk about you know, maybe help subsidize your website cost, and you know, a little bit of you know, some of your marketing. You know, so other things to talk about. You know, because if you're looking to really become entrepreneurial in this area, we want to have the resources for it.
So you'll just give them money for anything, and they should just send you a request. And I think you said a picture of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm getting mine ready. I've got an envelope. I've got your name on it. I've got my picture in there, and I want $200,000.
Yeah. Well, don't forget the wiring instructions.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. Do that. I didn't know you were serious about it.
Yeah, I am. Nor did I think you were.
All right, guys, anything else that we need to deal with here?
Tim, someone just posted they just completed setting up their website with us and wanted to know if we could add a cash advance tab to the website for them. I'm assuming we can get that done, right?
Yes, we can. And we're actually putting together an add-on page specifically for that, for people that want it, so that we'll do that. Alyssa and the team have been working on that. And in case you haven't gathered, Alyssa is our marketing manager, and she's kind of the one who got all this tech set up for this call so we could do a Zoom call and not fall on our face. And it seemed to work out pretty well. So we'll let her continue for another day. The only sad part was Jim didn't get to hear his lead-in song that he requested.
Yeah, feeling groovy. That was Alyssa's suggestion, but we'll do that next week.
He gets very upset when he doesn't hear his music. He needs his walk-in music.
Right. It's like you're coming up to bat on a baseball team. What's your music?
We'll rehearse that for next time, Jim.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I again, thank you guys so much. I know Sean on our side has been doing a fantastic job of working with Tim and Jim and setting this up, and we really appreciate it. And again, don't hesitate to contact us. Just to even learn more if questions weren't answered here. I'm incredibly accessible, as is Karen. We're happy to talk to you offline anytime.
And just one other quick thing, and we'll take this as our last kind of response from a customer. One of the things that was asked was whether or not we could provide some marketing information and some brochures and things like that. I think I'll take that offline and talk with you a little bit about that, because we often provide that sort of thing along with our regular mailings that we do for customers. And it might be good to literally put the brochure in there with it, kind of co-branded with them to do some other stuff. I see a couple of thumbs up on the screen there. We'll definitely take that under advisement and get that done. And obviously, since we're the printer, we can get that stuff out pretty well. So we'll talk to you about that offline. All right. If there isn't anything else, guys, we're knocking on the top of the hour. I know we haven't taken any other questions, and we're going to leave this one strictly as our probate cash one and save it for posterity. I think it came off pretty well. We'll be back again next week, obviously, with our normal program. We'll be doing it the same way. We'll be doing it as a Zoom call. We plan to do this going forward. So please join us again. We had a great turnout this time, and we had a lot of people adding on, the people from the live platforms that we can't see on here. We know we had probably our biggest audience in a while. That's exciting to us. Again, thanks so much for joining us today. To all of you guys, we appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate the opportunity you've given us, Mark and Karen and Sean for everything that you've done. And more importantly, we look forward to some great success stories coming out of this program going forward. And thanks to everybody. So thank you a bunch. And with that, I'm going to call it out. A couple of people have said they like the format. That's great. And Jim, somebody said you're talking about Simon and Garfunkel, you're dating yourself.
I am.
I saw that,
actually,
but
yes,
I'm with you, Jim.
Years. It was actually your much younger daughter that mentioned it first. So she must like oldies. Yeah. All right, guys.
All right, y'all have a great week. And
adios. Talk to you same time next week, everybody. Take care. Thank you.
Bye now.